it has since evolved into changing people's lives, because what we see is people will get an elk tag and maybe they're out of shape, but they drew that elk tag in Colorado. And that person finds Mountain Tough, starts training on the app to get ready for that hunt, but he finds that improving his life physically, mentally, spiritually, nutritionally to prepare for this hunt really turns him into a better family member, better coworker, better person. And that is really our core mission now, is to change people's lives for the better.
Welcome to the LandTrust Podcast, where land, technology, and the outdoors meet. Whether you're a landowner, an outdoor enthusiast, or someone curious about the future of recreation on private land, you're in the right place. Each episode, we share real stories from the LandTrust community, from unforgettable guest experiences to conversations with landowners about their land and why they choose to share it, plus interviews with leaders, shaping how we all experience the outdoors. And now, here's your host, Nic De Castro.
Today, we're joined by Ryan Watson, the Chief Marketing Officer at Mountain Tough. Ryan spent over a decade in the hunting industry, from leading user acquisition at OnX Maps to now driving growth at Mountain Tough. He's seen and been involved with the digital landscape in ways that few others have in this industry, having deployed tens of millions of dollars into digital marketing channels to acquire hunters. And today we'll get into the learnings he's had from that, the challenges he's faced, and where he thinks the business is going. This episode is part of our Outsides Insiders series, where we sit down with the founders, operators, and insiders shaping the future of the outdoor industry. Just a quick reminder, our guest views and perspectives are their own. They don't necessarily reflect those of their companies or of LandTrust. All right, Ryan, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Heck yeah, man.
As we had just kind of been spoken about, we had recorded this a month ago, and then I didn't. Recording is actually false. I didn't press record. So we recorded an hour-long podcast that I didn't record. And thankfully it was with you, who I could easily get back on because you're a buddy. But sorry about that. So if Ryan seems short with me on the on the podcast, that's why. I'll kick it off with a quick little story. Ryan is actually the first person that I ever talked with about LandTrust, the idea that is today LandTrust. So we went on a spring black bear hunt in 2017 outside Missoula. I had just moved to Montana and moved to Bozeman in December of 2016. So yeah, he was the first person I ever talked to about it, started kicking it around, and so he's been around since the very beginning. But I thought that was an interesting point to share.
Yeah. It was a cool hunt too, because that loop is a pretty cool loop. And one time when I was back there, I had to recover an elk with my dad and his hunting buddy. And where we had gone was basically, and we hiked pretty far, but this guy that hunted with my dad a lot, he was a big cross country skier. And there's this big loop of those logging roads that we were on, and he went deep back in there and killed a bull off of skis. So it's just a cool zone.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so let's for people who don't know you, let's start with your bona fides. So give them a background on your experience, and just again, as I mentioned in the intro, Ryan is today the Chief Marketing Officer at Mountain Tough. We'll get into Mountain Tough too, but why don't you give the bona fides in the last 10 years of your career?
So graduated University of Montana with a marketing degree, and entered the workforce doing at a firm that did marketing automation. So kind of right away got introduced to data-driven marketing and technology-based marketing. And then from there, I was actually able to jump over into an entry-level marketing role at OnX Maps. My father's best friend was the CTO at the company at the time, so I had a little bit of an in, and had some good recommendations, got the job, and literally was thrown into the fire. It was crazy. It was so much growth, so fast, while learning mobile marketing in Montana, which was actually fairly difficult because you weren't in this remote situation now where everybody is so much more connected online. It was still kind of if you weren't in one of the hubs of technology, like Silicon Valley or Seattle, New York, you just weren't as able to get exposure to mentors or just be in the know of the first technology. So we really had to seek out learning. And we
And
found
this was 2016. Sorry, what year was it? 2016.
Yes, I joined OnX like January of 2017. So
Okay.
so I got the job in 2016, but officially started in literally
What employee? Do you remember what employee you were? How early it was?
gosh, I was in the 30s. I don't
That's
remember
what I figured.
exactly, but
Okay.
higher than 20, less than 40, somewhere
Yeah.
in there.
Okay.
So anyway, it was they had just started the mobile app the year before I got there, and it was a piece of crap. Like if anybody remembers that first app or the first few iterations of the app, it was very buggy, new tech, really difficult to scale. And we were also kind of at the forefront of install ads. So this was kind of the heyday. I think Google and Meta, well, Facebook at the time, launched their install ads product. And so like kind of everything hit at the same time on a few really awesome things. Like the product that OnX Maps delivered was super high product market fit, like one of the best I've ever seen. And then all of these kind of new technologies for mobile app advertising came out at the same time. And so we were rapidly learning how to set up these systems, set up marketing automation systems, set up advertising campaigns and optimize. And we just hit the gas, man. And so like through that, we grew the company like crazy. It was huge growth in user and revenue. And I grew through that business and ended up being the director of growth marketing. Built out automation teams, user acquisition teams, marketing engineering teams, SEO teams, and had to really see. I think that the big thing I want people to realize is like we were like a lot of times doing super high amounts of research and talking to like the best of the best in the industry, like mobile gaming companies. We would go to conferences. We dove into like what the best of the best in the world were doing and learned from them. Hired like one consultancy out of Berlin that was doing growth for SoundCloud, Spotify. There's a really cool firm called Feature. They're huge now, but we were one of their first customers, and we just downloaded information from these people and just applied, tested, learned. And so that really just rocket shipped my career, just because it was just literally like a master's degree level of learning every year.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the company just changed every year because so much growth was happening so fast that over the 7 years I was there, it was a new company almost every year. So yeah, that was my kind of trajectory at OnX. It was incredible. And then I was there very happily. The team I had there was incredible. And Dustin, you and I actually went to a workout with Dustin at the MTNTOUGH lab when it was in that PT facility.
Yeah.
This was back when I think Dustin had that crazy van that he would load up all of his like bells and kettlebells in and transport them around to do clinics and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, you brought me to this thing, and I was in pretty good shape at the time. And I survived the workout, I would say, not thrived in it.
Yeah.
Dustin and I met then and kind of made that connection. So, in a way, you were an impetus for this career move that I made as well, which is amazing. And Dustin reached out to me and said, "Hey, I just need some app advertising advice or app marketing advice." And so I took a look at his stuff and gave him some advice. And then he was like, "Do you want to join?" And I was like, "Maybe." And so, I looked at the picture of my life and I was like, well, when am I ever going to get the chance to go early stage in the hunting industry, in mobile app and a fitness company? It was kind of like, that's like a lot of my passions all meshed into one and kind of the perfect storm. Yeah. And so, I left OnX very amicably, love those guys still. Would definitely, if the time came I needed to, I could totally work for them again. They're awesome people. They really are. But it was just kind of my time and opportunity to get back into the startup world, because OnX is now, goodness, they're a hyper growth company, I would say now.
Yeah.
Out of the
I
startup.
mean, I remember at that time it was you and I was talking to you about potentially coming to LandTrust to lead marketing. Right. And, and then I had introduced you to Dustin and you guys were talking, and Dustin and I talk because we're friends. Dustin's the founder of Mountain Tough, for people who don't know. He's a great guy. He's a good mutual friend to both of ours. But Dustin and I were talking, and I said, you know what? Honestly, I think he's a better fit for you, because it was just such a direct overlap, with just an app-based, hunt-centric, at least at the time. And you guys, I want to talk about how you guys have grown kind of the audience base, but it was such a direct application of your 7 years of experience there. And they were just a little further along at the time than we were. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to fight you for them. You take them. But yeah, it was cool. And it reminds me that I need to start working out again. So you've probably acquired, you've acquired millions of hunters to digital applications, let's call it, millions of accounts of hunters, which is a unique perspective for sure. I guess, you spent most of your time on the performance side, or do you think that's a fair statement? Performance marketing side of the shop. So for the listener, it's like, there's marketing that's like a big, beautiful film, like the Sitka films or whatever, like OnX produces films. And then there's just like, hey, we're going to put this much budget into these channels, whether it's digital, or, Meta or Google or whatever, and we need to acquire customers below this customer acquisition cost, right? So you spent most of your time on that side. And you touched SEO and some of these other things as well. What's changed, and where do you see things today in that performance side?
So the performance side has gotten more difficult for a couple of reasons, and this is harming a lot of, I would say, smaller niche brands. This makes it more difficult, not just apps, but privacy maneuvers and policies from companies. It's definitely making it harder for, if OnX was starting now, it would be much more difficult than it would have been when they started. And you see privacy from many different angles. Like there's just this sort of like maybe global, like consumer opinion about digital marketing, where people noticed how well companies were able to, basically follow you around the web and apps and, try to deliver you relevant content. And people, to a degree, like didn't like that just feeling of like invasiveness. And so there was kind of this response from governments and companies. You see Apple taking this stance. They're probably the biggest, I would call, offender of this. And people took this sort of opportunity to not really educate folks on how anonymous it really still was at the time. It felt maybe less not anonymous, but it truly was. And like Apple, for example, did this thing where they obfuscated what's called a device ID. So device ID is an anonymous ID that's assigned to every device. How marketers were buying ads on let's just say Facebook, for example, is we would buy install ads and target an interest group. You could go into the back end of Facebook and say, I want to target hunters. So when people say Meta is selling your information, quote unquote, this is kind of how they do it, right? They have all of this information about their users, and then they sell access to that to me as an advertiser. I'm not writing a deal with them. I'm not looking at your name. I'm not looking at anybody's name. I just say, I want to target people who are interested in meat eater, or I want to target people who are interested in bow hunting. And that is an obfuscated list, always was. And then I can go out and send direct ads to those people. Now, when you go into Facebook and it's a little bit harder to get some of those relevant targeting because of Apple's obfuscation. Without
and to clarify, this kind of rolled out a year or two ago, and it's the whole ask app not to track, right?
It was about 3 years ago. Yeah, and if you'll see that prompt, especially on your iPhone. It says
you download a new app.
When you install an app. And so that really hammered the industry, because basically what that did was, let's say I could still target you from Facebook. Facebook still has all of that information to target you. But when I buy that ad and then you click on my ad and then you install my app and you don't allow me to track, I have no idea if you downloaded my app or purchased our product. It was completely obfuscated. So what seemed like a privacy move against Facebook, Google, and all these other folks really just passed down to the advertisers on confusion. So like for me as an advertiser, a performance marketer, I spend $100. I need to make sure that $100 is profitable. So without some of that data on and it wasn't like a user's name. It was just like you'd look in a dashboard, you say, I spent this much money, I got this many installs, and I got this many purchases. There's no personal information in there. All of a sudden, basically, the installs were guessed at. They started being guessed at. And then the purchases went from seeing I got 10 purchases for every $100 I spent, as an example, down to nothing. So all of a sudden, all of these advertisers were like, oh no, I have no idea if my marketing is working. So anyway, it caused this huge upset in the market. There has been some changes. Apple has rolled out some features that have made a more privacy sort of centric, even more obfuscated way of reporting conversions back to, the advertiser. So it's getting better, but it's not nearly as good as it was in its heyday, where we could literally see everything from the user journey. That made it really difficult for a lot of companies, and actually served OnX well, because OnX had enough cash and money and free flowing cash flow to sort of just keep advertising, even though we were a little blind, while we figured out ways to find signal to keep spending and keep knowing that we're still doing good ROI. We'd watch blended metrics. We did all these things to make sure we were still doing well. But a lot of these other small advertisers couldn't afford that sort of period of learning. And that as a first mover with OnX's size, I definitely think that helped them dominate the market.
Yeah. I mean, and to translate, learning when you're talking about performance marketing online means money. So
Yes.
you spend money to learn. The platforms always say, hey, let's start learning.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, yes, eventually they do learn, but it always means spending money. Meta and Google, their answer is always spend more money. And I remember I came from that industry. It's how we first met. I was a vendor of, I had reached out to you originally after I discovered OnX, and went on my first hunt and killed my first antelope in Colorado. I was living in Colorado at the time, working in the YouTube space, where we were doing contextual content-based targeting. So a lot of the stuff that Ryan just talked about is a little bit more interest in what we call behavioral data. So what actions have you taken? What pages have you followed? Whatever, right? They can kind of assume, hey, followed MeatEater, you're probably interested in hunting, and that would be something that Ryan could target you off of. I worked in content-based targeting. So instead of guessing at things I've observed you do, if you just went on YouTube and started watching a hunting episode of MeatEater,
yep,
you just show your ad. You're a hunting brand, you're OnX. And so OnX was a customer of ours at that company. That's how I met Ryan originally. So yeah, it's been interesting to see how black box, that was in the good old days, where you could go and literally pick exact pieces of content and do that at somewhat scale. That's some of the technology that I had worked on. Then Google took away the ability to go and just launch individual campaigns on each of their platforms. Hey, I just want to do a YouTube campaign or a search campaign or whatever. And they just kept making it more and more black box, where you're giving you less controls and just saying, hey, trust us.
Yeah. And a lot of people on this call, if you're not in mobile apps, you're maybe in e-com, the campaign that this is probably making you think of is called Performance Max or PMax campaigns, where it's just a black box. You upload your creative, your copy, and
hook up your credit card.
And you hook up your credit card and it spits out customers somehow, and you have no idea where they're coming from or if they're buying your branded term and they're converting. They did something very similar to the mobile app industry, but more aggressive back probably about 4 years ago now, where they took away, for mobile app install campaigns, you can still target YouTube contextual targeting for web-based campaigns now. But for apps, you used to be able to buy a search keyword in the Google Play Store. You could buy hunting maps, if somebody was, or hunting app, but now you can't. You can't do that in the Google ecosystem. They took all of that away for just programmatic black box targeting, where they say, hey, we've got this algorithm. You have to spend upwards to $100 to $800 a day to teach this algorithm.
Learn to train the algorithm.
Algorithm. So and there's like, well, how long is it going to take to learn? How much money is it going to cost? And Google's like, I don't know, just test it and try. So it's within their own benefit to have these sort of, I think it's kind of silly to have these sort of products, even if they say they run better. And maybe they do, but it makes the marketers dumber because you don't know where your customers are coming from.
You have perverse incentives. So here's the thing. Google has perverse incentives, right? If you own the auction and the inventory, it's perverse incentives. I remember a quick anecdote. I was working for that YouTube contextual targeting company that I was a vendor of yours back then. And I was selling a lot in Silicon Valley, but to like, enterprise tech. So like CA Technologies and, companies like that, where they're selling multi-million-dollar a year, contracts to VP marketing at, enterprise tech cos. And we remember going in doing audits. The best thing we could do is like go in and audit their YouTube spend if they were spending on YouTube and just like show them. YouTube made it at the time, made it really difficult to find this stuff. But we go pull it up and it'd be like all Taylor Swift videos or children's videos. And we're talking like, hey, buy our, enterprise identity and access management solutions, like super enterprise techie stuff, right? And to watch the YouTube reps like wiggle in their chairs and be like, well, this actually was the laptop of the VP of marketing at the company you wanted to sell to, but their kids watching kids, videos at home on it. And so just like, hey, why don't you just show my content in front of stuff that's like contextual with it? Like show it to somebody who's watching a video on like identity and access management, I don't need to know anything about you. If you're watching this, if you're Callaway Golf, you don't need to know anything about somebody that's watching the PGA Tour because they're watching golf. Like that's your customer. It just is, So, these guys have obfuscated it away and have just like black boxed it. It's like their answer is always spend more money and let it, give it more time, which, I would do the same, I guess, if I had the opportunity. So, all right. So we talked a little about performance. Talk to me. Okay. So Mountain Tough now, give a quick overview on Mountain Tough. And then I want to talk to you about Mountain Tough's podcast and podcast as a channel.
Sure. So Mountain Tough is essentially a training app for backcountry hunters. It's a fitness. It's honing in your fitness for mountains. And specifically, it started. Dustin started it literally by hanging a like one of those tear off sheet things at his local bow shop that just had his phone number on all of the little tabs. It said like train for backcountry bow hunting fitness and little tear offs. And so literally that's kind of still the product is the main customer group is, hyper mission specific backcountry hunts. And the point of it is, and the ultimate goal is for somebody to be able to go elk hunting in high elevation, rugged, steep terrain, hunt for 5 to 7 days. Maybe within those 5 days, you kill a bull, pack it out, and you could hunt again after that pack out. That's the ultimate level. Like say your buddy still has a tag and, you still want to be able to go out hunting. That is like the pinnacle athlete for Mountain Tough. The tough angle from it in the name sort of comes from the mental side of things. Dustin always hammers home that the most physically fit athletes can be outperformed by more mentally tough athletes that are less physically adept. Now there's a varying degree of scale. Obviously you can be a huge fat ass and be very mentally tough, but you're not going to be able to climb up a mountain. There's a scale to this, right?
Right. Yeah.
The whole point is to build mental toughness. And a lot of the workouts are just grinders, and they're built in certain ways on certain days of the programs where like, they're kind of like the suck day. And when you get through those suck days, we try to build in certain aspects to those workouts and those days, make you think while you're trying to do something really hard, make your reps go up as you're fatigued, and it makes you want to quit, So there's all these like challenges within the programming that make Mountain Tough like really unique to other training programs. That style for the backcountry hunter translates so well to just longevity because we can't get you injured. So it has a lower injury. We really try to prevent injury. So you won't see us doing like sort of like the CrossFit style, like tons of
Do a
overhead
bunch of Olympic lifts in a row until failure.
Right?
Yeah.
And you'll see some like snatching and stuff like that, but it's very careful. And the time of the year that we'll do like more risky workouts is periodized. So like during the 16 weeks before hunting season, there's a really high injury prevention. It's like very noticeable. There's
Like a protocol.
A lot of prehab stretching before and after. The workouts are very safe. And so what that whole mentality has actually allowed for is the hunting is still like the main cohort of users. But military folks really like it. Policemen really like it. Firefighters really like it. Wildland and structure. There's a lot of firefighters on the and first responders on the app now. So, we're still remaining tight to our core and training people for the backcountry, but it absolutely translates everywhere else. And so the whole point of Mountain Tough being fitness was one component of growth. Now we're trying to build a holistic community. So if you look at Mountain Tough, we say fitness is just one component. Mental toughness is the other component. Nutrition is the third component. And then spiritual health is the fourth component. And so, Dustin's background, he was a Christian missionary in Uganda before he started the company. He's kept Christianity at a root of the company for basically its whole existence. And we moved that more forward into the product. So now you have a daily prayer that's launched every day. We launch programs from spiritual leaders on marriage, how to be a better father, how to be a better man. Specifically we gear more towards men because we're like 90% male. But a lot of those things are still loved by females. And so, we're just really trying to build like the holistic lifestyle now. So if you ask me, if you ask Dustin, like me or Dustin a couple of years ago, like what's Mountain Tough's mission? It's like, it's, to train people for the backcountry. But it has since evolved into changing people's lives, because what we see is people will get an elk tag. And maybe they're out of shape, but they drew that elk tag in Colorado. And that person finds Mountain Tough, starts training on the app to get ready for that hunt. But he finds that improving his life physically, mentally, spiritually, nutritionally to prepare for this hunt really turns him into a better family member, better coworker, better person. And that is really our core mission now, is to change people's lives for the better. And the backcountry is sort of like the avenue.
Yeah. I mean, like you and I have spoken about a bunch. If you look at brands, I look at it as a brand because, marketing background and all that kind of stuff. But CrossFit started as a small group of elite people training in a certain way. Right. And then it became a global thing, right? So that, suburban moms are doing it. And I think similar here, Navy SEALs, so it's a small group of elite people doing crazy stuff, and they become a global brand. And it's something that it's aspirational, starts very aspirational. But I think Mountain Tough has a similar opportunity where, it's a small group of elite people training for a specific thing, but what starts as aspirational can then be taken out to the masses. Like you said, most people are looking to make themselves better, and yes, looking at it holistically is the big opportunity. So it's cool to see you guys continue to grow grow the brand and the audience and who the target customer is, so to speak. On that point, let's talk about the Mountain Tough podcast. And I want to look at it, where did it start, or why did it start? And then how has it performed as a channel for you guys?
Dustin started the podcast before I joined, and it was only for members of the subscription. So they locked it behind the paywall. And it was like that until I got there. And there was always this sense that we need to bring this thing outwards, because we think we can build like an external facing channel that can help acquire customers. It has maybe other business development opportunities. And the whole point of the podcast was really to hone in on some of the deeper topics. Like fitness, to a degree, is fairly surface level. Yeah. Right. It's like going to the gym consistently, following a plan is not that difficult. What is difficult is the discipline. What is difficult is the consistency, the dedication, right? Those types of things don't come from pumping the iron. They come from your mindset. while pumping the iron.
Building habits.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. And so the podcast was built to start to dive into what are those topics that top performers use, and what are like the mental hacks that these people are using. Like, think of it like a Tim Ferriss level podcast for backcountry athletes. And also there was, talking about other topics like, spiritual health, fatherhood. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a good father? Like, a lot of fathers are going to be the ones taking their children out hunting. It's still a very male dominated sport and will continue to be. So, fatherhood we feel is extremely important. And if you're not a good dad and you're too focused on the backcountry, that's like a topic we might cover. It's like your idol is the backcountry, and maybe you need to back off because you're a bad father, right? So that's kind of the topical nature of the podcast, is like a deeper level of awareness into like the ethereal and the mental side of things. Yeah. So we brought the podcast externally, launched it, hired a podcast marketing agency to help us sort of up level the show, help us find really top, like really high level guests, and pitch them on the show. And the show has since grown very well. It's got it's getting a lot of downloads, a lot of views. We actually pulled the podcast off of our own old YouTube channel and are putting it on its new YouTube channel to grow it. That was a strategic move. But with audio platforms and our community, the podcast actually converts a lot of new users because people share the episodes, they talk about it. We mention our own promo code. It's like we're our own little advertising channel within this. In-house ads is a good way to put it. And so it's a really good source of customer acquisition. We also, instead of raising money for like a round to grow the company, we were like, well, we have pretty high listenership on this podcast. Why don't we just sell ads on the podcast with some really authentic brand partners, and we'll raise our own money that way versus, diluting shareholder value. And so it became a way for Mountain Tough to fund other projects, fund our growth, hire more people, right? And so not just because of not only is it a voice for us that's our own controlled voice. Instagram could take us off their platform, we'd still have the podcast, right? It's our own voice, our own way to communicate with our customers. Not only is it that, it's truly an acquisition channel. And we noticed that some of our top fans, most of our top fans, are podcast listeners, and they're religious. And so those people, they sort of, what did they say? You need 1,000 true fans. I can't remember. Is it a Seth Godin?
Yeah, I think so.
So Mountain Tough's already a very like cult following style brand, but with a podcast, we're just increasing that level of affinity for the brand and for the people. People like to follow people, and so that also, like, instead of just a logo, you're associating Dustin as like the face of Mountain Tough. It gives it a human element. Does a ton of good for the company.
Interesting. So, and it's also enabled you to bring on guests definitely outside of hunting. I'd say I don't think Dustin really talks a ton about hunting at this stage on that podcast. I think it's a lot about, and I don't want to speak for it, but it's definitely helped expand the audience kind of to what we were talking about earlier. Yep. With your current marketing mix, I mean, what percentage of like acquisition do you feel happens from the podcast itself versus other channels?
It's probably... Well, yeah, I guess to your first question, yes. So we do have hunting guests, like, hunting influencers on Talk Hunting, but more so, like, we've had Olympians on there and talking about their mindset, prepping for the games.
Go find subject matter experts. And bring them in.
And because we were like, we don't just want another hunting podcast. There's so many of them out there, and we're kind of like, we're really close with Remy Warren, and we title sponsor his podcast. And we almost like, it's like he's giving you the tactics on how to hunt. We'll train you how to be fit, do what Remy says in the field. And then our podcast will be for your mind, right? And your emotional growth, right? And so with that sort of trifecta, we're just like, let's just focus on what we're good at. And, we just don't want to be just another hunting podcast. Right. That I think will help grow, like you said, grow the audience for the podcast. As far as like a percentage of acquisition. So for Mountain Tough, social media, advertising is number one. Number two and this is from a checkout survey. So there's some
it's directionally right. Yeah.
Directionally, right. This is how people perceive their influence of, how they heard about us. But podcast is number two.
Interesting.
For Mountain Tough. And that's an amalgamation of podcasts we buy ads on and our podcast. Consistently, some months, our podcast ranks just as well as like Remy Warren's podcast for us.
Wow.
So it depends on the time of year. Remy Warren's show crushes before hunting season. Yeah. But now
summertime.
During the earlier part of the year when hunting season's really quiet, we're kind of like neck and neck. Now his show is way bigger than ours, but we'll catch him. Even though we're his title sponsor, we're kind of like, we got to get to Remy's level. So he's kind of, even though we're title, we're always trying to chase something.
So what comes in third on the mix?
The third on the mix, I believe, I could probably check, but I'm pretty sure it's YouTube. The third one is friend referral, and then YouTube, which makes sense. So like word of mouth for Mountain Tough is huge, right? Yeah. We pride ourselves on that, and I'd actually like to see that increase. So we're going to work towards maybe incentivized referral. We might test some of that in the next couple of years. That's a really good marketing tactic. There's a lot of good marketing technology for e-com, for friend referral, in product. Fintech, pay attention to fintech apps. They really have friend referral figured out.
You guys, look, you're looking for behavior change. And so behavior change is stronger with accountability.
Yes.
And so obviously you got to build your own product in some ways, unless someone's gone out and sassified this, if that's a word. But, referring, if it was like, hey, cool, I just discovered Mountain Tough. I'm going to invite my buddy here in town to do it. We'll do it together.
Right.
Like having that accountability buddy, could be a good way to drive referrals and make them sticky. So, okay. So what about AI? How are you guys using it? My mind went to this. I scribbled it down while you were talking in the beginning about the teams you're building out and SEO and a bunch of this stuff. And I don't know. I mean, LandTrust is a small team, 7 people. Even the fact that we're doing this podcast is largely due to the progression of AI. Like I created this podcast, with ChatGPT in 2 days, the format for it and the structure and all that kind of stuff. This is stuff that we'd wanted to do a podcast for a while. And to your similar point, like I didn't want to create a hunting podcast. I'm not uniquely good at hunting. I don't have any specific insights that is going to be super cool for you. I wanted to do it about other things that are tangential to the business.
Yep.
But like there's so many things that we're seeing from creative to campaign optimization, copy, all these things, specifically in marketing, but across the organization that AI has now is it perfect? Absolutely not. Does it take you from 0 to 90% of the way there in like a second? Yes. So how are you guys using it on a day-to-day basis at Mountain Tough?
Yeah. So AI, we're trying to involve in as many things as we can involve it in. So, for example, the podcast editing, we have a podcast editing AI that will watch the podcast and help us switch cameras onto the guest, to the person who's talking, whereas before, and a video editor would have to do that manually.
Are you using Descript or what are you using?
I'd have to look. I'm pretty sure this is what they're using, but
we're using Descript. Yeah.
Yeah. Descript's great. So there's a lot of just like things that we're already doing to automate. And so like automation, it may be, like automation is not just AI. So we took a pass at the business and we're like, hey, there's these cameras that automatically can detect motion and can move on a dolly. And so we actually took if you look at our daily program, so just for folks, so some of Mountain Tough's programs are standalone, where you just open it, there's a video explaining the workout, and then there's a corresponding PDF that just has it all written out for you. So you can just take that to the gym and go. but a lot of people really love follow along. So think like Peloton, but for badasses. Not lame. No, just
yeah.
Peloton's pretty cool. But so we record athletes on camera doing the workout and a coach with them who's showing form, demonstrating, walking the athletes through it as if you're in a class with them. So we film a daily yoga, a daily minimal gear, a daily home gym, which is basically if you have a barbell setup and a cardio machine at home, and then a mobility daily. All of think about how much that is. That's so much filming. And that's what the Mountain Tough Lab is actually doing most of the time, is we're not just in there working out as a group all the time. We do every day at noon, but most of the day we're filming these daily workouts and getting months ahead on these daily programs so that they just drop every day, right? And so we had a video editor down there with a camera on their on a what are they called? Just like one of those camera sticks, and they're following the athletes around doing shots and stuff. So we actually completely pulled the cameraman off, and we have cameras that are like basically little robots set up on this movement panel, and it follows the coach around as they are coaching, and completely automated that process.
Cool.
So now all the coach does is they film their thing, they grab the SD card, they walk it up to the video editor, and the video editor starts. So looking at business from that lens is pretty high importance to us. It's just like can you automate anything without losing authenticity? And so that's when we look at AI, we'll have it review, we'll do a podcast, or we'll have the coaches talking about a program. The AI can download that information, cut it up into a bite-sized bit of text, and there's our program description. A human double checks it, reads it, then it goes up on the website instead of having a writer do that.
Yeah, that's copywriter is what you said would have had to read the whole thing, summarize it, drafts, all that stuff. It's just
or interview one of the coaches and get a download. And so, those types of things are quick to do. We are staying away from any sort of AI generated workouts.
Yeah.
We feel that that's a little inauthentic for the Mountain Tough brand. I don't not think that AI could produce by reading all of our programming.
Yeah.
And, our programs are not built for the individual. It has one program has to be kind of fits all.
Yeah.
Because we're not a personalized training program for you. It's a program you follow generally, and then tweak it to yourself. I'm sure that an AI with somebody could download their information into it, look at our programming, and spit something out for you. But we're kind of dedicated to the fact that our learning comes from the lab directly and from humans, and so we're going to keep the humans inputting the workouts and training. Definitely, I think that a lot of fitness apps the booty program and all of the bikini bod, or increase your squat PR in 6 weeks. I think a lot of those programs without really hyper mission specific training are probably at risk of AI.
Oh
potentially.
gosh, yeah.
We'll see. I think maybe humans have a little bit more distrust for robot, physical recommendations, but I don't think that's going to be the case because, all you're really doing is regurgitating information a lot of times anyways, as a coach for those more generalized things.
Yeah.
And if all you have to do is input your body weight, your height, your BMI index, maybe you upload a DEXA scan result, that AI is going to be able to produce a pretty badass program for you.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to I think Mountain Tough's hedge against AI and those types of things is the authenticity.
And this community too. Again, it's just
community, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, other things of AI that are of high interest, I think, to the audience, we actually went back on an AI project. It was mostly just kind of a silly thing. In our Facebook community group, there was this feature you could turn on. It was just a group AI, right? And that group AI would be inside the group and watching people's posts. And then if it saw something that it could add value to, it would be like, hey, here's a couple other conversations that are related to what you're posting.
Similar, yeah. Right.
But what we But then it started posting in the group without our knowledge. And it did those kind of posts without our knowledge too. And we started looking at it and we're like, this is kind of odd. And so we looked at, how do you train this thing? How do you like adjust the AI? And the feature like adjustments on it were very minimal. Like you would just tell Facebook what it was, what its purpose was, and that's basically it. You couldn't correct.
This was an AI tool released by Facebook. So it's a Facebook
in
product.
Every Facebook group. So anybody watching.
Interesting.
Now here, I'm going to freak people out with this. So here's the thing. And this was the last, well, there were two last straws for us on this. It was pretty funny. It was cool. Yeah. We gave it a funny name and a funny picture, you know, and I wouldn't say it was not adding like value, and it wasn't misbehaving. But what we didn't like was a Mountain Tough customer could direct message this AI. We have no idea what that AI is saying to the person.
Yeah.
Right. Also, if it's posting in the group without our knowledge first, there wasn't a way for us to approve its posts. It would just post.
Yeah, that's weird.
So we were like, no, this is kind of wonky. Then it comes to light. If you guys, have you seen any of the articles of Llama AI?
Yeah.
How like Facebook's Llama AI has been caught like doing sexually explicit messaging with people.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, it's
no way.
It's, you know, I think that this AI is not well regulated or controlled. You can just Google it. I think there's a Wall Street Journal article about it. Like those AIs have been caught doing some really gnarly stuff and like messaging like young kids under 17 on Facebook if their parent, you know, can get onto Facebook and message with this AI, and that AI has been caught doing some really bad stuff.
Whoa.
So once we heard that, we were like, nope, not touching Llama. Yeah. We're just not going to touch Llama AI. And we kind of said, we're not going to do anything customer facing that's not approved by a human, just because any AI could go kind of like rogue and have a lack of control that we just don't know or understand. So as a business, like you got to really watch out and really know what's going on.
You've got to own.
And I would follow that Llama AI stuff pretty closely, especially as parents. It's like, you know, the AI can convince you of things, you know, like depending on who's training it, you know, or who's using the model. Now, I don't know. I'm speaking kind of generally about that news article. People can go find it for themselves. But there was some like sexually explicit stuff that was being like talked to with these young people on this.
That's
app,
crazy.
And I don't exactly know if this is just a model trained on the Llama AI or if this is within Facebook. I can't remember. So people have to find that themselves. But it is Facebook's AI that's having this issue currently.
I mean, it makes sense with all the data it's been trained on over the last 20 years or something like that. You know, a lot of that's been part of the data set. I mean, we feel the same way. We're leaning into AI heavily, back-end processes across every part of the business, customer success, marketing, operations, engineering, et cetera. But we have not enabled any sort of AI forward-facing. So nothing touching customers. When you call or text LandTrust or email us, like it's all just people responding to you and helping you. We're going to roll out some customer-facing AI tools, but they'll be very clear that we're not trying to say like you're talking to somebody. It'll be something like, hey, chat with a LandTrust listing. If you got questions like, hey, does this place have RV hookups? And I'll be like, yes, it has RV hookups. It's got 50 amp and whatever, right? So just help you kind of basically like ask questions and learn the answer instantly, right? Rather than this is customer success person. No. Those are real people. We're always going to own that. And I think that's really important too. So
yeah, and those AI are usually confined, right?
Yes, and they're looking at certain data sets, and
I think it gets really sketchy when you're the unfettered like access AI. Here, I just sent you that Wall Street Journal article in the chat. You can
we'll throw it in the show. We'll throw it in the show links for people.
Yeah, people should pay attention to this and really watch what your kids are touching.
Yeah, totally. All right, so we'll kind of bring it home here. You did get to go. Was it last year you did your LandTrust hunt, mule deer hunt, or when was it?
That was 2 years ago. Yeah,
2 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So you actually ate the dog food. You went on a LandTrust hunt. Tell me about
Yeah,
it.
it was awesome. Last year I didn't because I got lucky on opening day and I had this mule deer right here.
Oh,
I had a special tag in a district in like a special draw unit tag that didn't have any land
nice.
trust properties. But this year I'm actually looking again, so you might get some
Nice.
money from me, man. That mule deer hunt was so awesome. It was like the cool thing about it, honestly, was just like it's just the ease. You just like message, got information from the landowner. Okay, meet here. You can camp here. Great. They sent me the pins. I show up. I park. I drive down to their driveway. Talk to the landowner. She's like, go this way. Go this way. Stay away from this thing. Don't hunt over here. Go have fun. And it was just like that was. And now I can go hunting tomorrow morning. And so that evening I went on a little walk, and did some scouting, saw some good bucks, like even just that first night. And then Dustin met me later that night and we went out for 3 or 4 days on that property, shot a really nice deer. It was awesome. I could not believe how just smooth it all went.
Yeah.
The landowner was honestly like super cool. She showed us like, hey, look at all these pictures of these bucks that our family has shot on this ranch. Look at this bull that like there's like a really coveted bull tag there. It's really hard to get, but the owner of the ranch had gotten that bull tag the prior year and shot an amazing elk. It was just like simple, easy,
Yeah. And look, you and I have known each other since when we were single, free and easy, could go and hunt a bunch and scout a bunch and all that. Now we're both dads with, you have 2 kids. I got 3. You have 2, right?
Yeah, I've got 2 under 2 now. That's been a big journey.
Well, man up and have your 3rd. It's not real parenting until you have 3.
Yeah, but it's great.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, look, you're at a different stage of life. You're obviously, got a demanding job and children and wife and all that. So to me, over and over again, as we do more podcasts where we have our, LandTrust guests, sportsmen on, it's just like we hear that over and over again. It's just, hey, I only have so much time.
Mm-hmm.
This allows me to eliminate some variables. Again, it's like, I know I have this place, I have it to myself for the dates. And yeah, the landowners are always very helpful. Who knows a property better than a landowner who's lived there their whole life? And, so it's about effective use of time outdoors because I don't get very much of it at all. And you probably don't get a ton of it today versus 5-6 years ago.
No.
So it's like, man, it's precious time. Spending time away from your family often. So it's like, hey, I want to go and at least strip away some of those variables, like not picking 5 public spots and you're like, cool, there's 60 trucks at every one of these,
Well, dude, if you think about like time, gas money, food, and just all of the components of, when like how much time I was able to spend in the backcountry as a single guy, is not there anymore. And so, but even then, when I was single, I'm like, how much money did I spend on gas that one
driving around? Spots A, B, C, D, and E. Yeah,
I probably spent in one hunting season. Like if I only have 1 week to spend, right?
Yeah.
The gas cost of hunting a whole season and maybe not getting a bull or a deer until the end is probably about the same as an elk hunt on LandTrust.
Yeah.
In my truck that only gets 15 miles to the gallon. Now, maybe that's different if I was driving the turbo Prius, right? But but people, even I think people who are on a budget, even need, like just do the calculation of like time spent, food, gas, wear and tear on vehicle and gear. And you're like, when you look at it, it's not that bad.
Relationship bank account with your wife. Yeah. I mean, cool. It took you a whole month and 5 trips to go out. And like, yeah, we all love getting out and hunting and all that. But it's, again.
And I will say hunting that mule deer property had a lot of deer on it, but we only got a good shot opportunity twice in 3 days of hunting. And then in the first shot opportunity, we kind of passed because it was going to be a hard shot from behind and he was moving. And probably, as I look back on that, we probably could have made that shot happen, but we had 2 more days to hunt. But we hunted hard. Like it was not like walking out into a field and shooting a booner, It was mountain hunting.
It's still hunting. It's still hunting. That's the thing is like The only thing you're eliminating is just having to worry about, like, you have this place to yourself for the
pressure,
time you book it, right? The kind of pressure, you can approach it how you want, and just remove, that's just like a level of stress. And I go outdoors today to get rid of stress. Like, I'm not some, badass hunter or something like that. I just try to go get away from the daily and to de-stress and kind of refocus. So, well, that's good, man. Hopefully you get to, I didn't even put in for tags in Montana this year, which is weird because it's the first year I won't be a resident there.
Right. And
I'm an idiot for not putting in, but I won't be hunting Montana this year, not for big game. But we'll have to get something together soon on maybe a LandTrust property where we can go over the counter. Maybe maybe Nebraska.
Oh, hell yeah. Nebraska is great mule deer. You guys have a ton of property out there too.
Great mule deer, over the counter, non-resident rifle tags. Crazy. There is a quota. So if you're interested, you got to be first in line to get it before it sells out of the quota. But yeah, it's a cool state. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, sharing knowledge, catching up. One of my favorite things about starting this podcast, I just talk to a lot of my buddies who are doing cool stuff, and you have dedicated time to catch up. I pressed record when we started this, so This will actually make it out into the wild. Sorry for, hopefully I think take 2 was better anyways. So
it's fun.
Anything, so tell people to find MTNTOUGH, MTNTOUGH.com, right?
Yeah, MTNTOUGH.com. It's MTN. It's not, mountain isn't spelled out, so it's abbreviation.
It's like a license plate mountain. Yeah, MTNTOUGH, exactly. MTN. Yeah.
And then obviously you can search MTNTOUGH in the App Store. That's where the app is. It's available on any device though. If you want to stream the workouts on like a Roku TV or a smart TV, it's there too. So cool. Kind of just anywhere, it's got a search bar. Look for MTNTOUGH.
You guys run any free trials or anything like that?
Yep. So it's a 14-day free trial. You can try out, basically, you can do one of our intro programs. The entry-level programs are usually 2 weeks long. So you can try out one of those and do the whole thing within the trial and see if it's for you.
Awesome. All right, man. Appreciate you.
Heck yeah. Thanks, Nick.
I really appreciate Ryan coming on and sharing that knowledge for a really interesting conversation. Again, very few people have kind of sat in his shoes, having deployed as much marketing dollars into the ecosystem to acquire hunters and millions of hunters at this point. So it's always great to have conversations with folks like him. By the way, to our listeners out there, if you enjoyed the conversation, please do share it, like it, comment on it, follow us on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to it. It really does help the podcast grow. It helps those platforms start to also share with other users when they see that kind of engagement. You can check out MTNTOUGH over at MTNTOUGH.com. It's phenomenal. I used to use it myself, but don't hold that against them. I haven't used it in a while and I've gotten fatter, but I will get back into it. Having 3 little kids and running a business has definitely taken it out of me. You can also follow Ryan at Ryan Under the Big Sky on Instagram. We will link to his Instagram there too. If you haven't yet, follow the LandTrust Podcast at LandTrust_Hunt on Instagram. And you can, again, find us on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. By the way, if you're not already a LandTrust free account holder, sign up today. It takes 15 seconds, create a free account. Tell us what you like, whether it's hunting or fishing, camping, other types of experiences. Tell us, what state you live in and what states you're interested in. And we will start to just send you great experiences and properties all over the country that match those interests. So we're essentially scouting for you 365 days a year for free. So again, go to LandTrust.com, create a free account, and we'll just send you really interesting things that match exactly what you told us you like. That's it for today's show. Thanks for joining us on Outside's Insiders series here on the LandTrust Podcast. We'll catch you on the next one.